OCO, everyone. OCO. Now, for the record, I had to literally force myself to do this episode. So if I don't do anything else today to get my state of mind out of a deep depression, I did this. I've done this. So I guess that's some form of relief. I don't feel it yet. Maybe if I look back, I will. I also want to give a disclaimer. Excuse any noise in the background. I waited till my mom left and my sister, because when they hear, you can, I really don't have any peace and quiet where y'all can just hear me. I don't want the background noise to be the highlight of none of my episodes. That's why I try to be as isolated as possible when I do these episodes. So, wow. So hopefully I stick it through to complete this episode. So spirituality is the topic. I done religion. I touched on faith. Before those two, I touched on mythology first. So I kind of want to do it in order. That way I can make it all make sense. Before I get into the chakras, numerology, astrology. Before I get into those. Topics. So, what is spirituality? Spirituality is just another word for your mentality. Your spirit is your mind, nothing less, nothing more. Now, a lot of people confuse the spirit with the soul. The soul is the body, which is a different topic. I would talk about the soul in a whole different episode. But I briefly just wanted to say that the soul is the body, the spirit is the mind. A lot of people tie the spirit with the breath. No, if you look at the pattern, the operational definition, you will see that it's a conscious/subconscious battle within the mind when it comes to spirituality. And it shouldn't be a battle. It should be a balance, which I will elaborate more on. So, and you already, if you don't know, you know now that I regurgitate in order to really dig deep into the subject. So if you feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again, that's just to pour something deeper, something more. I'm really digging deep in the subject when I do that. So once again, spirituality is another word for your mentality. It's the way, I wouldn't necessarily say the way, but it's the makings of the mind. So if someone was to ask me, what is spirituality? I would tell them spirituality is the makings of your mind. And you would normally normally have to look at a person's background in order to really have a full comprehension of their front ground, because your background is most likely dealing with your subconscious, especially if you're suppressing certain things, certain scenarios, certain pieces of your background, which I was known to do. Now, we automatically going to be on a spiritual journey, whether we like it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not. What some people tend to do is they treat their mentality as if it's a religion. And that's why I would never say that I'm spiritual. I'm not spiritual. I use spirituality like I use faith. I use it as a tool, as a stepping stone. I gained my lesson. I created steps out of that lesson to move on to a higher level. So I never used spirituality as my guidance. I never used faith as my guidance. Religion, I did. Not anymore. So, back to spirituality. Spirituality is just another word for mentality. I constantly have to remind myself that, because there are certain things that will play out in life that makes me regroup to that, makes me address that, makes me go back to that, makes me do a whole 360. Okay, let me make this make sense. Let me address this in this totality. So recently I feel like my spirituality, aka my mentality, is a part of me feel like it's worthless, because it's like I'm learning all these things, I'm knowing all these things, but what good is it when I can't really fully apply it? Because when I try to apply it, boom, here's a stumbling block. And I feel like one of the main stumbling blocks I'm facing with is lies. Like, there are certain things that's been presented as truth, and I'm like, yes, I finally have a doorway. I finally can get through something. Then boom, it was a lie the whole time. Just got scammed out of my intelligence. So I personally feel like my spirituality is like aka my mentality is not really worth having if I can't really fully have assets. It's like I have the knowledge, but I don't have the assets. Like I'm watching this show called American Gods. I really, really love that show. And the reason why I'm going to mention it because it ties in with spirituality. The first episode, like near the end, where Shadow Moon, which if you haven't saw the show, you will find out who Shadow Moon is. His first introduction with Technical Boy, the tech boy, the boy that's highly informed, highly, intelligent when it comes to technology, he's part of the new Gods era. So the show is deep, but I say that to say this. If I didn't get nothing else from the show, I got the part where he said that the most important thing that he care about is the dominant piegram. Now I want to make sure he said that, because I don't want to, I hope I'm not getting cut off, but hold on. I want to make sure that that's what he said. Hold on. Because
paradigm.
Oh, see, I said piegram. He said paradigm. See, that's why I have to double check. So he did say paradigm. A dominant paradigm. That's dealing with the model, the pattern, the standards of the mind. And that's the reason why that's his main focus, because if you control the mind, you control everything else, aka the spirit. If you control one spirit, you control everything about them. Because everybody moves start with the spirit. It starts with the spirit. You speak on what you know. If you don't know something, you won't speak on it. Now, there are some people who have a manipulation standpoint where they feel like they know something, but they really don't. So we base our communication off what we feel we know and what we know for certain. That's what a lot of us base our communication off of. And that's why it's the greatest tool. The greatest weapon we have is our mind, aka our spirit. And I recently feel like I feel like I'm in a fight or die situation mentally, which is way deeper than the physical standpoint. Like, a lot of people talk about, oh, I'm a vegan, I'm going to eat healthy. But what about your mind? Is your mind healthy? Your spirit is way more important. And yes, I want to intertwine the two words. When I say mind, I'm speaking of the spirit. When I say spirit, I'm speaking of the mind. When I say mentality, I'm speaking of spirituality. When I say spirituality, I'm speaking of the mentality. Because I can't express that enough. A lot of people is so confused. Like, a lot of people mistake spirituality to be just something, any and everything else other than the mind. But do I use it as my guidance to guide me through life? I use it as a tool. My guidance is the one that keeps my spirituality going, that keeps my mentality going, which is the Almighty, which a lot of people don't want to talk about in this day and age because a lot of people feel like there is no Almighty. Which I'm going to speak on that pretty soon. Because I was close. If it wasn't for me finding out what I know now, I would probably be an atheist. I would probably be one of those people that say there is no Almighty. Like it's all a facade. It's all an illusion. But I did come across some information that made me realize, like, wow, without this, how would anything function on this earth? How would our spirit, which is the main tool we have, I would say it's the main tool. It's the main tool we need in order to get by in life, which is our mentality, our spirituality. It's the main. Just because it's the main tool does not mean it's our guidance. Does not mean it's our. Because to be quite frank, our experience is what formulates information. That's why it's called information, not outer formation. And we, as living souls, a lot of people confuse the two. There's a big difference between outermation, information. I get my information within because I have my own lens to look at the experience that I'm within. So confusion is it's a disease. It really is. Confusion is a disease. And there's a lot of people within confusion. In order for there to be a cure, there must be clarity. Clarity is the remedy for confusion. And a lot of people ain't willing to clarify because they feel like it's too much work involved to clarify anything. Whew, that's another topic though. But back to what I'm trying to say. The spirit is the main tool to use. It's the most used tool that we have as living souls to get by in life. But there must be an acknowledgement of what is the fuel behind that tool. What keeps that tool maintaining on its course, moving. So I do feel it's important to address the Almighty in its own episode, in a whole different episode, because without the acknowledgement of the perspective that I gained, how can anything move forward? How can anything move at all? So the real image of the Almighty has been attacked. A lot of people don't even know the real image. A lot of people think the Almighty is just the old white man with blue or hazel eyes with long gray hair. And I used to laugh at that, but I don't even laugh at it anymore. Because I realized at one point in my journey in life, I was under the impression that the Almighty was an old man too. Because the images that I grew up seeing, I'm like, why? I never questioned the skin color of the image of Jesus or none of that, or God, because there's a difference between God and Jesus. It's a big difference. Some people will argue, and here's another confusion. See what I mean? That's why clarification is so important. There are some people who say God and Jesus the same. There are some people who will prove and have proven that Jesus and God is not the same. It's I can make my claims based off experience. But that's another topic. The only reason why I mention that because it ties in with spirituality is it's intact with the mind. To paint a picture of something, of a savior, and say, here's your savior, here's everyone's savior. Now you have people arguing about the skin color. This doesn't represent my culture, so therefore I'm not worshiping it. This, and the third. It's always an attack with the mind, with the spirit. Because if you control the spirit, you control any and everything else about that person. Why? Because that is the main tool we use. The main tool that use us, that's a different story. That's why I said I have to make a video about the Almighty. I have to. Because if I don't, my mind can leave out, go in a whole different direction. Because I'm making these videos for me. Whoever want to listen to them, feel free. But I make these videos for me because, like I don't know if I said it in my trailer, because I redid my trailer. My trailer is my introduction to my podcast. So check that out if you get a chance, if you ain't already checked it out. But I said the reason why I started podcasting because I want to be the voice I wish I had growing up. So when I make these episodes, I go back and listen to the audio because it really does help me. It is truly designed to help me be the voice I wish I had growing up. I wish somebody would have told me these things. I would have been better off. I wouldn't be struggling now trying to find a way at 24 years old, almost 25. And it's like I have to start all over again from the very first level. Like I have to reparent myself. I have to restructure and relinquish all the things that was programmed within my spirit, within my mind. It's a whole lot of programming with spirituality. So I don't knock spirituality because, like I said, it's one of the main tools I use. However, I'm not going to be in denial. And this is why I say I don't practice spirituality, because spirituality is a practice. The reason why I don't practice spirituality is because I know the muscle behind it, the force behind, not necessarily the force, but the motion behind what moves the spirit, what moves the mind, what keeps the mind alive. That's why I don't rush it, because even spirituality basically what I'm saying is spirituality has a backbone. I don't rush up, I don't glorify, I don't be a part of anything that has a backbone. Why? Because that means this energy is getting their energy from somewhere else. I want to get my energy from the source, not a source, but the source. So spirituality is a source, not the source. Therefore, I do not worship a source that came from another. So I glorify, I don't say worship, I glorify the common denominator. And that's another reason why I have to do an episode for the sake of my mentality, for the sake of my sanity, on the Almighty, because there's so much confusion, there's so much misconception. The Almighty is not even of a living soul figure. The Almighty inhale and exhale through it, but doesn't mean that the Almighty is us. The Almighty runs through us, but the Almighty is not us. Maybe in reflection, but not within appearance. What appears is the creation, what the Almighty creates. And like I said, confusion is a hell of a drug. Clarification is so important. And I can't stress that enough either. That has to be known. That's why I don't practice spirituality. I use it as a tool to get me to where I'm going. Just like I use faith. So, being that spirituality is the makings of the mind, you will have to look at the person's background. You will have to look at the person's background. Because if you don't know where you've been, how do you know where you're going? If you don't know where you started, how do you know where you're going to end up? You have to know your background. You have to know it, because if you don't know your background, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be in this, you're going to be stagnant. You're going to find yourself going in a circle. Tired of life. I personally feel that way. I feel like I didn't ask to be here. I feel forced. And that's because my spirituality, I feel that it's been attacked. I feel that it's been attacked. I truly feel that way. That's why I didn't want to like do this video. Not video, but audio. But I had to come to realize that if I don't make this video, not why I keep saying video. If I don't make this audio, what good is it going to do for me not to make it? I'm not going to do nothing but stay in this same depressive state of mind that I'm in. So it's best that I do the audio, do this episode rather than not do it, because at least when I do it, I can go back, listen to the episode, and really reflect on where my state of mind is at now and where it can go. So when it comes to spirituality is not no joke. Your mentality is not no joke. It's something you have to take serious, because if you don't want nobody to do it for you, and you basically self-destructing yourself when you don't feed your mind, your spirit. Your spirit is like a plant. You have to water it. You have to make sure it has sunlight. You have to make sure it have the nutrients it needs in order to continue to grow. Because it don't hurt nobody but you to be in agony. It don't hurt nobody but you. So I may do a part 2 to this episode, because you never know, I never know what experience I might come across again, what type of knowledge I might come across. But right now, I'm just giving my all, like, on this topic, spirituality, what all comes to my mind when it comes to spirituality. And something just came to my mind right now that I want to address before I forget. There's levels to the mind, to the spirit. As for me, I went from being curious to being religious, from religious to being conscious enough to know that I do have a spirituality, a mentality. And in order to make sure it's pure, I have to be analytical. In a sense, I have to dissect, trace back the information that I received, make sure that it's in its purest form. If not, I have to trace that back. Where did that come from? So I look at spirituality as not only a tool, which I stated several times throughout this episode so far. Not only that it's a tool, but it's a plant that has to be nurtured, that has to be watered, that has to have a certain amount of sunlight in order to continue to grow. It's like a baby in a way. There has to be a metamorphosis. It has to be some form of nutrients. It has to be some form of nurturing. In regards to spirituality. And being that I'm so duplicated, I might not even pronounce the word right, but like duplicated in the sense that, yes, there's a spirituality, there's a physicality as well. And it's like I'm at tug of war with the two, because like physically I'm not where I want to be, and it does affect my spirituality in a sense, because it's like I know all this stuff. Yeah, every time I try to apply it, here's another stumbling block. Here's another, thought you had it. You got to go through this. You got to go through that. part of the reason why I'm having such I wouldn't say a difficult, but like a challenging time with my spirituality is because it's not fully accepted. Like, I accept it, but like people within the world, oh my goodness, there's so many things that was built to destroy our spirituality as individuals, like our mentality. Like, there's a certain mentality that's not allowed on this planet. I personally feel like I have a mentality where I want to be financially free, but how can I be financially free working for other people, making other people's dreams a reality, but sitting on mine? And some people would settle with the fact, well, let me build this person destiny. Let me build this person career. And the little chunk change I receive from that, I can build mine from there. Why do we have to go through a process like that? Why do we have to work for other people in order for us to work for ourselves? Why is that? You know what that do with to a person's spirituality, to a person's mentality? It makes me feel lesser than. It makes me feel worthless. And that's forced. And that's say you shouldn't have to force anything. It's like you are, like I am. It's like you're forced to suppress your spirituality, your mentality. You're forced to suppress it. The only way to free it, and it's so backwards and sad. It's like the only way to free your mind is to cage your mind in until you fulfill someone else's freedom of mind. That's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like. I always told myself, like, recently, I don't want to work, because there are certain people who have children that they barely spend time with because they work majority of the time. I don't want to have children and I'm working more than I'm spending time with my children. I want to own my 24 hours. Not want to be owned by my 24 hours, but I want to own my 24 hours. And it's like, how can I own my 24 hours when I have to split my hours to fulfill someone else's hours and put money in their pocket? It's very frustrating. It's very draining. That's part of the reason why I didn't even want to do this episode. It's like, there's people who say, I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm not finna be money hungry. So people might say, oh, she gonna sound like she money hungry. No. Survival hungry. No. Freedom hungry is what I am. I'm hungry for I'm hungry for freedom. And it's like, I don't have it. Because I'm not gonna say I don't have it. I have it. It's just like there's no room for me to inhale and exhale my freedom. It's like I'm caged. I'm forced to suppress it. Like, there's no room for expression. The little room there is comes with a price. You have to pay for promotion. It's either pray or ask. And people ain't flattered with you but me. I don't ask people for nothing. Because a lot of people have the mentality where, what you gonna do for me? Instead of asking, sit back and see what that person gonna do. See if that person gonna return a favor without you demanding it. Who said I wasn't gonna do nothing? See this? I just didn't want to do this episode because I felt like, how can I fully talk about spirituality when I feel like my mentality, my spirituality is being attacked? But I guess this can be an example of spirituality, just for me expressing my journey with spirituality. My mentality. It's like I'm in a whirlwind. Just everything is just tossing and turning, and and just wrapped up and been spinning around like a merry-go-round, like going nowhere fast mentality. Like all this information, it's like I can't even apply it to nothing really, because I'm suffocating with reality, being in the mist. The reality of it all is everything costs. It costs to live. It costs to die. It costs to breathe. It costs to eat. Who made these rules? Who? You gotta pay to eat. You want to eat, you gotta pay for that. You want to drink water that the Almighty created, we didn't create, you gotta pay for that. Like who came up with these rules? Do you know what that do to your spirituality, to your mentality? It's like we were forced to be programmed. We were forced to have the fight or flight mentality, spirituality. To have the crabs in the bucket mentality, spirituality. I might title this episode "The Frustration of Spirituality," or just spirituality, the makings of spirituality. Because your spirituality is from reality. I mean, I basically just summed this episode up. I can end it here, but I'm going to elaborate on that. Your spirituality is the formulation of reality. It's like it came from the reality of things. That's how your mentality is stimulated. It's how it's risen into what it is. If you want to know one's spirituality, look at the midst of their reality. Just look at it. My reality is it's a forceful, I won't say a forceful mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. And you want to know the sad part about it? It's like, it's slavery. It's really slavery. I can sit here and say, I don't want to work, and a lot of people say, oh, you just lazy. That's why you don't want to work, because you lazy. We went from saying slavery is bad to rewarding people who participate in slavery. And those who don't participate in slavery is considered lazy. Like, there's people that brag about being enslaved. Look, and here's the thing, just because you don't pick crops anymore doesn't mean you still not in slavery. Slavery upgraded, that's all. Like, people brag about, I work 15 hours. That 15 hours, that's 25 hours in a day. You working more hours than you're resting. And you happy about that? You bragging about that? You only work 2 hours. You more of a slave than that person, and you bragging about it like it's a good thing? Wow, good for you. I work hard. Just because you're not in the field doesn't mean you're not a slave. You brag about building someone else's business up? Like, ooh. Do you know what that does to the spirituality, to the mentality of an individual? Do you know? I saw something on Facebook that was so alarming to me. Let's make the lazy people feel stupid. Or let's confuse the lazy people. 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Them your work hours. Like I said, you're working more than you're resting. And so, like I said in my last, I don't know if I said it in my last episode, but I'm gonna say it now. To work is to do free labor for someone else's manifestation, for someone else's career, for someone else's business. When you're working to build someone else's legacy when you work. And I'm talking about the reality of things. If you're gonna be a slave for anybody, be a slave for yourself. Build your own legacy. If you're gonna work more than you rest, work for yourself. But see, then again, what are you working for? It's like you have no choice. You can work for someone or work for yourself, but even then, you still working more than you're resting, because now you're working to make sure food is on the table. That's sad to me. Why should we have to work for food? The Almighty created food for free, but yet we charging for what we didn't even create. We can nurture it and take care of it, but at the end of the day, if we was to die today, when I say we, I'm talking about living souls. If we was to die today, trees still gonna grow. Animals still gonna roam around. To be honest, animals have more sense than us. In a lot of ways. I wouldn't say every way, but in a lot of sense, in a lot of ways. That's like seeing a dog charging another dog. I wouldn't even use dogs because you got to pay for dog food too. But out in the wilderness, you don't see lions charging other lions to eat. This would be 5 bones. You got to give me 5 bones in order to eat this. No, they're gonna grab what's out in nature. Here we are, as living souls who have the capability to grow fruit. We got to go through the government. The government got to go through federalism, through the Federal Reserve, in order to get a stamp of approvals, and it's a mess. Like I said, it's definitely an attack on the mind, on the spirit. It's a huge attack. It's a huge attack for me. Like, looking at the reality of the spirit, it's draining. It's definitely draining. And then people like, oh, you got too much pride. You have to ask. I'm not asking. I'm not begging. I'm not doing none of that. Because then you have people who will be like, I did this for you. I did that for you. I don't want nobody bragging about what they did for me, because you didn't have to do it. That's why I don't ask people to do nothing for me. I do for me. It's a huge drain on the spirit, though. It's the reality that set up the spirituality. It's such a mess. It makes me angry. But I don't know if I'm telling myself or fooling myself just to keep going, do the podcast, see where it takes you. What are you doing it for? To be the voice I wish I had grown up. But what good as being a voice for yourself when you barely surviving? What good is it? Being a voice? You know how many people? It's so many people voices that is silent, that is threatened. Like, they can't. It's either they can't speak out, they being stopped, killed. All because all they, 'Cause all they, 'Cause all they, 'Cause all they 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 the state of their spirituality, their mentality, and the formation of their reality that even formed it. Like, freedom of speech is really not free. It's a price with everything. And it's like, how do you expect one spiritual state of mind to be sane when there's so much insanity going on? How do you expect for one's mind to truth? And those who say, "Oh, I got a clear mind," yeah, because you have enough delusion in you to be okay. I feel like the people that truly feel like they okay in life, everything is going good, because they accepted the delusion within reality. And I'm the type of person, I refuse to embrace yes, I acknowledge it. Yes, there's a lot of delusion on this planet. Yes, but I'm not going to be a part of it. And when you decide to not be a part of it, it really is, and it really does become an attack on your spirituality, on your mentality. It really does. It'll make you feel worthless. It'll make you feel like everything you're doing it for nothing. Cause I questioned the Almighty recently, and it's like, why did you put me on this planet? I didn't ask to be here. You don't feel that that's selfish? And then my inner voice was like, and when I say my inner voice, I'm usually talking about the Almighty. So if it's not correct, it will be. Because one thing about me is I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to hear. If I can't hear my inner voice, I cannot hear any other voice. So my inner voice replied and was like, what if the Almighty was forced to be here? And I'm like, well, the Almighty was self-created. The Almighty came from nothing. And another thing that my inner voice mentioned was like, what if nothing is an energy as well as something? I'm like, what? What if nothing is an energy? And an energy is an action. And like my inner voice was like, reflect on it. If you do nothing, you still feel, right? But describe that feeling when you do nothing. And looking at the reality of it, when I do nothing, I feel worthless. I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in life. I feel like you can feel nothing. So maybe nothing is an energy. Like nothing is just a feeling of emptiness, a feeling of, I basically just summed it up, like of emptiness, hopelessness, worthless. Like, it's a feeling of stillness, like you're just still. Stillness can sometimes be a good thing, because maybe stillness is what it takes in order for you to know where your next move is going to be. But that was just something I was reflecting on. I'm still trying to make that make sense. I just want answers. I just want clarification, because it's a whirlwind. It's a lot for me to know what I know, to experience what I have experienced, and yet I'm still expected to be sane. It's like, how do you expect me to stay sane in a world full of insanity? How do you truly? And when I say you, I'm talking about the Almighty. Like, how do you truly expect that out of me, or do you expect it at all? Or should I just be a reflection of everything that I've witnessed, that I know what I'm going through? But then again, that creates insanity to express all of that. Or maybe I'm not expressing it right. Maybe I need to control my energy more, structure my energy more, redirect my energy maybe. In order to keep my spirituality, aka my mentality, sane. Just like, how do you expect for me to live when we automatically expected to die. How do you expect for me to be happy when we are deemed to experience sadness at some point? How do you expect for that to be consistent when there's so much uncertainty that presents itself? Or once again, are you even expecting this anything at all? Yeah, basically just getting like a preview of my spirituality, my mentality. This is what my spirituality entails. When I get the answer to all this stuff, I will gladly make a whole nother episode. That's why I said there has to be another episode of spirituality. Because I'm quite sure it's more than the mentality than reality. I'm quite sure there's more to it. It's so... I'm just reflecting. Like I keep saying, don't give up in my head, but it's like don't give up. It's like I never been up to give up. I feel like I'm just down. How can you tell someone that feels down, don't give up? What if I never experienced what up is like? Like how can you tell someone not to give up when all they feel like they experience is the downness, the downs of life? To say don't give up is to say don't give up on what? Hopes, dreams. A dream is going to stay a dream if you're not applying it to reality. Hope. Expectations. Expectations is not normally guaranteed. It's like playing Russian roulette. The bullet might set out, it might not. It's a 50-50 chance with hope. You can hope for something and a whole nother year might take place. Like a whole nother situation might take place. It's a lot to take in. I don't want to necessarily say take in, but keep in. Like, all this knowledge I have, what good is it when it feel like my mind is up against the wall, like my spirit is up against the wall, like, man, that's I recently just pulled away from everything that I felt was draining me. Like, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not going to be talked to any kind of way, because that affects my spirituality, aka my mentality. Like, I literally had to get away from certain people. It's just so much it's so much. Maybe I'm feeling the effects of keeping everything in. Maybe everything that I've learned was meant to be released, because if I keep letting it build all up, I will eventually explode and lose it. So I guess that's why I just did this episode anyway, because I said I didn't want to do it. So maybe, not but maybe it's meant for me to just release it all, release the frustrations, release the enjoyments that I experience, release everything. Maybe that's what I need to focus on, is just releasing and see where that leads me, see where that takes me, because this spirituality of mine, this mentality of mine, it's it feels suppressed. It feels like it's suffering. I know I probably was rambling. I'm talking about don't want to work and stuff. What they got to do with it can take a toll on your mentality, aka your spirituality. Your mainly mine. My the type of spirituality, aka the mentality I have, is it needs to feel free. It needs to roam freely. It needs to be released. It shouldn't be caged up. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the remedy to having a pure spirituality, aka mentality, is the relief of reality. Maybe that's the remedy. And I'm gonna try that out. And I'm gonna give you guys and ladies a follow-up on that. Yeah, just give y'all a follow-up and see where that takes me, see where that leads me. Because once again, I said I ain't want to do this episode mainly because I don't feel when I don't feel accomplished in something, I don't want to discuss it. But then again, it's like, if I'm going to be open with myself, because I can't be open with you all if I'm not even open with myself. If I can't be open with myself, how can I expect for anyone to be open with me? Or how can I expect anything greater when I'm not even open to receive greatness, or too busy focusing on the lesser than of it all? So yeah, I'm going to test relief. I'm going to test that tool out and see what that tool leads me, because I do feel stuck. Like, it's just so much that goes on in the reality of my life that really does take a toll on my spirituality, aka my mentality. And it's like, where do I go from here? That's where I'm at with my spirituality. Where do I go from here? Because clearly there's more to spirituality, and it's called Qádash. And I'm going to talk about that, because when people ask me, are you religious? No. Are you spiritual? No. I am Qádash. Wow, I keep forgetting that. I need to start saying that more. I am Qádash. I need to start saying that more. The reason why I feel stuck in my spirituality is because I'm not using what I came across. There's sometimes, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Have you ever came across certain information that was meant to be applied in your life? You just sat on it because you learned so much. You learned so many things. Because when I learned about the term Qádash, I'm kind of like, yes, that's what I am. And I put it on the back burner because I came across something new. I'm like, yeah, okay, next. So it's like I have the material to build the spiritual steps, but I'm sitting on it. And it's like I can no longer sit on it. I need to start building so I can reach to my destination. Because my destination is to be Qádash. And it's like, how can I go to that destination when I haven't fulfilled the spirituality of things? Like, I feel like my spirituality, aka my mentality, is not fulfilled until I gain a certain release. And it's crazy because I wouldn't say it's crazy, but it's ironic that it does ties into the physicality of things, like the physical aspect of things, like finances. It's like I'm learning all these things, but now it's like the older I get, the more concerned I am about finances. It's like, okay, I don't want to work, so what's the other options? I want to be able to express myself. And a part of me was like, well, people don't get paid to express themselves. And it's like, you have artists. That's what artists do. They express themselves. So basically, I want to do something that doesn't feel like laboring, that doesn't feel forceful. That's basically, and I feel like once I get that under control, my spirit, aka my mind, will be made free. I will have a certain level of freedom. Until then, I will forever feel caged and stuck. So I feel like that's the missing piece to going to the next level. Because I can say I'm Qádash, but if I'm not solving other aspects in my life, how can I fully reach and establish what I say? How can I truly apply it? So I feel like that's what I need to work on. And yeah, my next episode is going to be on the term Qádash. I really want to address that and what it is. And hopefully through that, I can like fully free myself spiritually through that. And notice I said hopefully, so that means I'm expecting. So, and in order to expect something, I need to make room for preparation, because you can't expect nothing. And that's the term I was missing. So you can't expect nothing without preparation, because that expectation would turn into certainty when you made preparation for it. So that's why I don't use the word expecting or hope. I don't use those terms often, because preparation fulfills what you're yearning for, what you're destined for, what you're designed. Not necessarily say destined, but like what you're desiring. Whether it's a hindrance or not, that's up to you. But yeah, so I'm gonna really focus on healing myself in a lot of aspects when it comes to spirituality, because I need, like I said, that's a tool. And anything that I consider as a tool is a stepping stone in my life. It's a part of my testimony. So spirituality is a part of my testimony as well as religion. But in order to move forward, to really fully embrace being Qádash, that has to be handled. That has to be situated. So, if I don't do a part 2, the next episode, just know the next episode is going to be on Qádash. When it's more than one person, then it's Qádashim. But I'm going to look more into that, because like I said, I'm not the biggest person. I'm not the biggest pronunciator, so bear with me. Don't tear me down. Build me up. Now let me build myself up. That way I don't have to worry about other people. Put my structure in other people's hands. So yeah, this is just basically me rambling and expressing my unfinished healing process with spirituality. So yeah, expect part 2 when it comes. Until then, love, peace, Qádash.